It's interesting how at nighttime things are quiet and more peaceful, and there's nothing to think about or worry about or to do. That's when I'm most at peace. And then what happens is the light comes up and things get lighter and lighter. And then all of a sudden, there are things that you have to do.
Why? I'm lost in time and space, submerged by sin, confused of what's truth. Don't know thyself no more. Rage consume my thoughts. Pain rules my heart. And I pour out every emotion I have inside, and still I don't know why. I don't love me. I never did, never will, never have. I hate me. And just don't know why. I swear I must have died 1,000 deaths. Can I just drink my sorrows away? Only wishing for better tomorrows. Or just maybe a chance for a better day.
So this is the room where it happened. And sometimes when I walk by this room, I'm scared to look in, but I always look in this room. Basically just woke up and was so desperate that I just grabbed the first thing I saw. You know, been planning for days and just was a knife. So the weird thing is it didn't even hurt that bad. I guess I was in so much pain mentally and emotionally that physically, just amazing. That's all I can really say about it right now. The bad thing is just to be back into a house that something so awful happened in. It's nighttime, and my name's Anthony. I'm an artist. I do a lot of photography, filmmaking, video making, and my current situation is I was recently diagnosed as being bipolar. I was diagnosed with depression in 2010, but in the mental health care system, you don't really get a diagnosis or a real evaluation. You can be in the mental health system for many, many years and not get a real psychological evaluation. When I was finally psychologically evaluated, after trying to kill myself about 2 or 3 times, I was diagnosed as bipolar. Second time I tried to kill myself was very bad. I have these scars where I basically stabbed myself. Here, 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 here. You can see the mark here. People ask me if I have a trach. Ever had a trach? No. I tried to stab myself. I was trying to kill myself. I jabbed the knife here, 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 my chest, here. I got one in the thigh, here, and you can see it right there. So that's what happened, and right now I'm basically working a couple days a week, applying for disability. Because of my mental health status, I only work a couple days a week. So, not used to not having money. Today I feel okay. I'm not depressed or anything. A little stressed out, but okay. I'm gonna take for depression. This one I take for thoughts. This one I take as needed. And this one I take at bedtime for sleep. It's also antidepressant. This one is for anxiety. This one is for psychosis. It helps with the thoughts. Always take so much medicine. It used to be just one thing.
Yeah, I mean, when I don't drink coffee, I just feel really exhausted. One of the things that like I've kind of always experienced from my depression is just like an incredible laziness and exhaustedness. Like it just really kind of takes it out of me. And not even that I'm actually been feeling pretty well. I haven't been depressed lately, but I just really kind of can't function. It's like my mind isn't moving as quickly as I'd like it to be if I don't drink a ton of caffeine. I like the feeling of being really hyper. I think naturally I just feel like sedated, and I don't know if that's just because I smoke too much weed or my sleeping patterns are crazy. Like I'll usually stay up till at least 2 or 3, if not 4 or 5 in the morning, and then like sleep in. Like today I slept in till 2:45, and that's pretty typical, unless of course I have to go do something productive that day. But I like the night because it's just very quiet, and it's kind of a time of the day where I really feel like extra solitude, because most people are sleeping and it's just very quiet, and there's a certain peace in the night that I find. Also just knowing that no one will bug me, I'll just be completely alone. And I've always really liked my solitude, and I've always really spent a lot of time by myself. I've learned to be more extroverted, like I've had to in order to like fit in. But I think naturally I'm kind of introverted. Just really severe sadness when I was like kind of a young kid. Like my parents were kind of fighting and not really getting along, so I think part of it was environmental, just hearing and listening to people fighting a lot obviously has an effect on like a young child's mind. But it was also genetic, partly. My grandfather had suffered from a depression, and he happened to be an artist. He painted. And my aunt, his daughter, also has had a depression that's really crippled her life, and she never had children and never really got a job because she just painted and made art her whole life. And it's definitely genetic. My mom being a psychiatric nurse, I'm well aware of the different, what's really going on with like my neurons and receptors in my brain in regards of it just not producing enough of a certain type of chemical to keep me feeling what most people would consider normal. So I started taking antidepressants to correct that chemical imbalance when I was about 10 or 11. And looking back on it now, being 22, I think it's kind of sad that as a kid, like, instead of just trying to like accept and like live with what I had been given, it was like almost immediately like medicated. Oh, you're a child, you're feeling suicidal, let's fix something, let's put you on some medicine. But I have to say it has really always helped.
This is the antidepressant that I'm currently taking. This is a generic form of Prozac. I recently started taking 80 milligrams, which is the maximum dosage that it's recommended that humans take. So I don't know where to go from here, but the thing with antidepressants is that if you keep taking them for years and years, which I have, you will build up a tolerance to them, and then you have to increase the dosage until that medicine doesn't work anymore, and then start something new. So, alley-oop.
Whereas my artwork has been concerned, I've tried my hardest just to be an artist and to be honest. It's the most powerful freedom, amazing place you can find yourself if you find a place where you can be completely honest. And in my art, I've been able to do that. And some things, it's just you holding up a mirror. If you take a picture of a building or a flower or an object, but I didn't turn the camera inward. And I try to take a picture of my soul, depending on where that's at, but I try to be honest at all times, and that comes through, I think, in my work. I've tried to show the effects of my mental illness as far as depression. I've tried to chronicle that, and sometimes I feel like when I die, people find all this artwork.
I hope I don't disrupt your fall between the sheets as right and wrong. I need to give you all you want.
I've tried my best to push it, to get it.
Impatient till the time is right. The book unlocks
They just didn't go as planned, or sometimes, I had a breakdown one time before I had a show. So I've just tried to come from a place of just being as open and truthful and raw as I can, And as far as this documentary, when I just follow other artists or allowing them the space to be open and accepting and just being able to talk about the subject is stigmatized as mental illness, and being able to express things is good. And we need to learn more, and we need to open up that box more so people can feel not as stigmatized and not as just bad about it, Personally today, I just feel kind of drained, a little tired. I've been to the mental hospital and things like that, and for my life, I'm better served accomplishing the things I want to do, like getting out of this house. Getting out of this environment, not being in the hospital, and being outpatient, and try to do things in a healthy way. So that's just what I'm going to keep trying to do, and trying to relax, trying to take it easy, and trying to not be stressed out, because to be honest, sometimes my family does do that. They do stress me out. I need my family needs me, but sometimes it's a very stressful, intense relationship. So I'm also trying to work a couple of days a week, and I'm in the program where I go during the day, where I'm with a group of people, and we sometimes do group exercises or group therapeutic things. It's the second version of that I've been in, so that's been helpful, and that's what it is right now.
Alright. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The mirror. I look into a mirror. What do I see? I see something unspeakable, unhuman, for any man should see. I look into a mirror. What do I see? I see nothing. No face, no soul, no heart. Just flesh and bones. I look into a mirror. What do I see? I see a shadow looking outside in and not inside out. Close your eyes. Do you see the picture? That mental picture so crystal clear? Now, you want to know what I see? I look into a mirror. What do I see? I see me, and the mirror shatters.
The basement. I have the whole basement to myself. So this is like my little living room area space. I try to create kind of an atmosphere that's pleasant to me, that's surrounded by things that are aesthetically pleasing and visually comforting to me. So I collect a lot of stuff. Obviously I'm not like a terribly organized person, but I just have a lot of art that's hanging up around. Some of it's just posters and stuff I like, but I did this painting of a goat. It was a picture that I had taken at Farm Sanctuary, and then I just started making a nice painting. These are some like recent drawings I did down here. Just thinking about geometry and color and stuff. I have this like larger sculptural kind of thing with this like yarn that I dyed myself, and this was for the Vagina Monologues. I have this large painting over here that it's just birds, and it's kind of set up like an altar space, but not an altar space to Captain Morgan. It just happens to be there. Yeah, so this is this room. It's basically just used as like a closet. Don't really hang out in here a lot. This is a drawing that I recently did in thinking about some sacred geometry concepts. I call this the Heart of Hearts piece because I was trying to like figure out the flower of life, the geometry behind that, and I actually failed and ended up creating this. And then it was kind of this whole involvement of starting inward and working out. Obviously it's not completely done, but that was fun to color in. So this is my bedroom. And like this room in particular is just especially comfortable to me. I have a lot of art hanging up on the walls here, but also just a lot of like photo references and posters and things that I find beautiful and comforting. Some of the stuff in here that I've made, I made this, it's kind of like a natural wind chime, I guess you could call it. I made that about a week ago. That was right before I went to the spring sweat lodge. I have like altars set up. The room is actually set up with altars for the directions. It goes north, east, south, west. And the room, it's set up so that the energy moves sunwise, like clockwise. So it's in accordance with like a magical space, a magical setting. This is traditionally like my main altar space, but right now it's just kind of covered with things. I have some like tarot cards from a reading I did the other night, and some artwork that a friend has given me recently. I spend a lot of time in here. This is just kind of like my little den of like being able to find myself in this very comfortable space. I spend most of my time in here. I have a couple windows that I can open up when I need to. The first time I felt declared as an artist was, my mom always made a big deal about me being a good artist because she's an artist to some extent and very good visually, and she recognized the qualities in me very young, and so she kind of kept my lust for it satiated throughout my life. And I remember winning this is when I felt the first accomplishment as a tattooer. So I remember winning a second place in kindergarten for a drawing I had done of a house that had little heart flowers on it and stuff, and it was kind of cool. I felt very, distinguished, and it felt good to win something like that. But it's been in me all my life. Like it's always been something that I've wanted to do. Like I can't think of when friends would come over, they would want to go and do something else, like go play dolls or whatever, and I never wanted to join them. I just wanted to sit there and draw. So it was something that I identified with just liking, right away.
And what did drawing do for you as a child?
I don't know. It was it's always been peaceful for me. Like it's always been just, I don't know. I guess as a child it was just something always that I did that I found to be fun and interesting to me, and I would think in reflecting upon it, art allowed me to explore my world. It allowed me to reflect on my world in a very kind of step aside and watch it happen kind of way. Like I was able to just reflect on the things that I experienced and saw, and it was it's a catharsis. It always has been. It really hasn't changed with childhood. I think that it's always been my way of kind of approaching the world in a lot of ways. It's how I see things usually. Usually when I'm walking down the street, I always stop and will be like, that would be a good painting, or that's beautiful. And, I always look through those lenses usually of being an artist.
When you say your world, what did you feel like your world consisted of as a young person?
I had a very normal childhood. I mean, I grew up, I played, I was not as active, I'm sure, as a lot of kids are, mostly because I just sought to draw a lot. But my world, and I was never popular. I was never the cool kid at school. So I guess my world was one that was definitely a bit more abnormal than others. But my art was always something that I was recognized for. And so that it became a big way to identify myself through, and it's what people knew me for. So my world was very much so centered around doing art. And like I said, my mom really encouraged that. It's always something I was good at.
Points.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready when you are.
Okay, well, the basic points of me dropping out of college. What had happened was, and this is what my therapist described it as, is that I was like a boat that couldn't say no to any of its passengers and couldn't say no to any of their baggage. And I lacked boundaries in a lot of ways, and one of those boundaries was protecting myself and my own sanity. And he said that eventually the boat that you were sailing on just started to have too much weight, and it started to go under. And the only way that you could really sustain yourself and do that quickly, to grasp for air, was to push everything off. That is the most succinct way to describe it. What actually happened for me anyway was I felt as if all of my life I had just been following somebody else's way of being, their understanding of life and perspective, and though it might have from the outsider seemed like a nervous breakdown, and it very well might have been, to me it was the start of Amy as a person, as an individual. It was me deciding that from now on I was going to make my life my life. And so that's what it was. I was involuntarily committed by my family, who was freaking out from it. And through that I also learned that the most,
Committed to what?
What?
Committed to what?
Committed to what? Oh. I'm sorry. Explain that.
Like I was involuntarily committed.
Oh, to a,
I
I'm
guess
sorry. I was involuntarily committed to a psych ward, because my parents were freaking out over this new Amy that they had never seen before, and they had always seen me as the yes Amy who always took on more and who was willing to say or do what anybody asked, and the good capitulant Amy, and this new Amy that I wanted to be had to have been a psychotic breakdown. So they committed me, and they were freaking out, and I looking back, I understand why they did, and I really appreciate they did, because it suggested a huge amount of love, even though I resented it at the time. But basically what I learned in the hospital too is that a lot of people's illnesses are compiled by a lack of compassion from the people around them, and they convince themselves that they are crazy because
they don't identify so much with the people around them, and the people around them think that they are so crazy that they're so willing to make them the issue and not recognize that within a problem there's always two entities at work, that there is no purely just devoid of reason, insane person. They're being affected by something. It could be a chemical imbalance, but I truly believe that those chemical imbalances are compiled by a lack of understanding from their families, their friends, and when they feel ostracized, they break down. They give up within trying to rationalize their insanity, I guess, and they capitulate to what society wants of them because it's easier, and it allows them to feel connected, whereas otherwise they don't. At that point, though, in my experience, I didn't care if I was connected to anyone or not. I just wanted to be me. I wanted to be understood, and I wanted to I didn't want people to make me feel like I had to be any one thing or another to have their love or their respect. I just wanted to experience life purely without a lot of outside influence or judgment or opinion. My parents are full of opinion. So, yes, there has been people in my family that have been committed before. My Aunt Carol was diagnosed as manic depressive back in her day, and then that got converted to bipolar. She was very extreme, and in some cases had symptoms very close to schizophrenia as well. She would hear voices and be outwardly delusional. A clear view that I had of her, actually, while I was in involuntary committal at the hospital that I was at, was when she had called me and she said, "Have you taken the medication that they give you?" And I said, "No, I won't take it." And she said, "You have to. You have to take the medicine or they'll never let you out." There was a lot that was suggestive to me that I did need therapy. I never denied being committed that I needed therapy. I never denied that I had issues. I knew I had issues. I kept saying it while I was in there. But I refused to be the issue. I refused to be the only person that had a problem within my dynamic in my life. I refused to be set in a corner and called crazy. And that's why I really wanted to go to therapy, was because I knew that it would force my parents to talk to me and to unveil certain things to me. It would also give me a safe space to do that in, and to just work out our issues. I wanted therapy. Like I was not anti-therapy. I was really wanting to be in control of how it was handled. You know, I didn't want somebody that my parents, appointed just because I didn't trust them at the time. But I was not against it. And also, a lot of wonderful things happen from being committed. I feel that it's a perspective that if you ever want to go into the psychiatric field, I think you should commit yourself and be put through what those people go through to understand what it's like to be seen as crazy, to be seen as abnormal, and to have that humbling experience of just people not trusting you around anything, around the simplest thing as a pencil. And for me, that was terrible, as an artist, to not even be trusted safely around a pencil, because they were so afraid of what I was capable of. You know, it's eye-opening. I had to work on personally my boundaries with people, my ability to say no. I'm very codependent, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's somebody who is pretty much addicted to people. They feed off of other people's perceptions of them, and they need to be needed almost, and they put themselves in a position that might be, albeit ego-provoking, harmful to themselves in the long run, because what happens is they pick people that aren't good for them usually, so that they can have somebody to fix, and that strokes their ego, and that they're around somebody that's worse off than they are, only to further their own feelings of self-worth. And it was just holding me back, because instead of focusing on the issues that I had and furthering myself, I would focus on other people and fixing them or helping them or whatever. And I came to realize that you can't fix another person, no matter how insightful you are, because you don't live their life, you don't walk their road, and nobody can change unless they really, really want to. So I learned that in therapy. I learned that most of my choices in relationship were stemmed a lot on bad habits that I had learned from my family too. That a lot of the choices that I made were based in, that people get used to being treated a certain way, and that's not always the best way to be treated. It's just what you're used to. It doesn't mean that it isn't severely toxic for you. And so I learned what was toxic and what wasn't, and what was healthy, and I learned that I'm entitled to speak up for myself, to have an opinion, to want what I want, and to go after it, no matter what anybody says. There's so many amazing things that I got from therapy. I could go on and on and on, really. I mean, I would recommend anybody going to see a therapist, because if you think you don't have issues, you're delusional.
Rolling.
The darkest place that my codependency ever led me was in a relationship with a guy. I'll leave his name out, but I basically followed him all the way to another state. In the end, I mean, I can say it was a godsend, because he was the one that really got me into tattooing, but he was able to manipulate me, because I was so lost and so not caring of, I guess, myself, that I followed him no matter what, blindly in some ways, and stupidly in others, just wanting, I guess, just a different life. Like, the darkest place was when I wanted to deny my issues, and when I wanted, or when I thought I could escape from them and run away. And I found that by doing that, they were only compiled 10 times more. And so my goal since then, to prevent that from ever happening again, is to know what I want, to always be seeking that, and to never let anybody else tell me what I should or shouldn't be doing at any point in my life, and to never move to another state unless you were planning to move there anyway. Okay. Now, how I manage my codependency is, it's really just an everyday battle, but I guess the best technique my therapist taught me was to pause before I make any abrupt actions, and to really ask myself serious questions of, do I want to do this? Is it practical to do this? Is this good for me? How will this impact other people in my world, in my life? It never goes away. I mean, you never stop being codependent. It's just one of those things, these checks and balances that you do to make sure that you're not allowing people to take more than they give. And that's basically how I approach most of my relationships now, is that I stick up for myself. I am very clear about where I'm at, where I'm going, what I see myself doing in the future. I'm very clear about, just everything. I'm very on the watch to see whether or not I'm giving more than what I get, and vice versa. I just try to make sure that the energy that I expel towards other people is reciprocated at this point, and that it's healthy. And when I notice that somebody is what I characterize as a energy vampire, they just seek to suck and not give back, I don't give them very much of my time. It's not that I'm mean to them or that I totally cut them off, because I've learned to just know that I'm only going to get so much from them, so I only give so much to them. And that's how I deal with it, really, is just and I get crazy sometimes. Like I will overindulge in others, and I will give what some people would think is just so much of myself. But when you show me you're an awesome person, I kind of want to be awesome back. So I mean, I run rampant sometimes, but for the most part I'm able to keep perspective. And I definitely have understood that when you betray my trust, that you're not deserving of many chances after that. So I definitely am one of those, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So.
Who am I? Am I a gangster? A hip-hop lover? Suppressed to call my queens bitches and hoes? Poison my community with a web of violence? Quick to grab a gap to solve my problems, busting caps, leave my brothers in ditches because he wasn't quick enough or strapped to bust back? But that ain't me. Am I a rebel with a cause, trying to bring salvation back to my youthful soul, spinning off that natural 360-degree high from Mother Africa, my sweet homeland of Kemet, with my hot hair and locks that remind me of my God-given thick tangled curls, big lips full of hips, deep dark brown skin tones protecting me from the UV sun rays. Yeah, that's who I am. Rebel with a cause, fist held high, shouting freedom, 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 peace.